Hello, welcome to the Supporting Students in Using Evidence module series overview video. In this video, we will explain the content of the module series about supporting students in using evidence. Additionally, we will talk to you about why this module series was created. As you are aware, the Kentucky Academic Standards for Social Studies require that students engage with the inquiry practices of questioning, investigating using disciplinary concepts, using evidence, and communicating conclusions. Once students are investigating using disciplinary concepts, they are engaging with the disciplinary strands of civics, geography, economics, and history. One of the inquiry practices of the CAS for Social Studies is using evidence. Within the using evidence standards, students must learn how to substantiate their claims using evidence. This skill requires students to collect, evaluate, and synthesize evidence from primary and secondary sources. When we conducted teacher workshops, we found that teachers were comfortable in supporting students in engaging with the social studies skills found in the using evidence standards. As an example, teachers were familiar with how to corroborate a source or how to contextualize it. However, teachers really struggle with supporting students in comprehending the sources that students engaged with. While a teacher felt comfortable supporting a student in understanding the differences between two sources, teachers did not feel as comfortable in supporting student comprehension of a source. When we use that phrase, student comprehension of a source, we are referring to the student's ability to understand the content of the source without a teacher explicitly telling the student what the source is about. Therefore, we developed this module to meet this need. On the screen, you will see an excerpt of the inquiry progression of the CAS for Social Studies. If you do a deep dive into the inquiry progression of the using evidence standards, you will see that students engage with using evidence as soon as they start their social studies education. Students are expected to use evidence as early as kindergarten. The first kindergarten using evidence standard states that students should identify information from two or more sources to investigate characteristics of a community. Students are to use evidence to learn about the characteristics of their community. This skill progresses in complexity and in sophistication from kindergarten to high school. On the excerpt on the screen, look at grade 5. 5 UE2 says, analyze primary and secondary sources on the same event or topic, noting key similarities and differences in the perspective they represent. Again, teachers felt very comfortable in supporting students in engaging in those sourcing skills, but they really struggled on how to take a source and implement it in a way that supported student comprehension of the text. This module series is all about supporting teachers and students in using evidence. Our learning target is I can support students in using evidence to substantiate their claims. For the purposes of this video, our success criteria is summarized below. It is important to note that the success criteria as presented here do not follow in the same order of the module series. Our success criteria are, I will be successful when I can, evaluate source complexity, and modify sources appropriately to support student learning when using evidence. Support students' mastery of the grade level using evidence standards of the CAS for Social Studies. It is important to note that the students are required to demonstrate their mastery of the using evidence standards and the essential social studies skills embedded within them. So part of this module series will support teachers in understanding the grade level sourcing skills required of the CAS for Social Studies. Additionally, I will be successful when I can develop coherent periods of learning that support students' understanding of the term source while distinguishing between primary and secondary sources. Understanding the definition of the term source in Kentucky is essential for student demonstration of the using evidence standards. A source is anything that communicates a message. So therefore, in kindergarten, a student can look at a stop sign, and that is a source because it informs them about the rules within their community. In grade 5, a student may look at an excerpt or adaptation of the Stamp Act to gain a better understanding of historical events during the colonization to Constitution period. Furthermore, students must know the difference between primary and secondary sources, as that is a demand of the using evidence standards of the CAS for Social Studies. As a result, this module takes time to explain the definition of a source in Kentucky. Additionally, it also supports teachers in understanding the differences between primary and secondary sources and how to convey those differences to their students. The other success criteria are, I will be successful when I can develop coherent periods of learning that support students' mastery of the grade level using evidence standards of the CAS for social studies, a student's ability to investigate supporting and compelling questions using a variety of primary and secondary sources, and student comprehension of primary and secondary sources. If a student can't comprehend a source, they won't be able to engage with the social studies skills required of the using evidence standards. In order for students to do those sophisticated social studies skills, they must know how to understand the sources that they are looking at. During part of this module series, we will focus on supporting teachers in implementing complex text-based sources when supporting students in comprehending the information found in the source. A student's comprehension of a source is essential in them meeting the second success criteria on the screen. Compelling and supporting questions. Our module has compelling and supporting questions to help guide and inform our investigation into supporting students using evidence. First, our compelling question. Our big idea, our enduring understanding that will apply to every single module within the series is, how do I support students in communicating their own conclusions using evidence to substantiate those claims? Each module in this series supports our investigation of this compelling question. Each module is anchored around a supporting question. The first supporting question is, what are sources? Next, we have, how do I select sources as a teacher for investigations? Third, is how do I evaluate sources for grade level appropriateness so students can engage with them? 4 is, how do I support students' comprehension of primary and secondary sources? Meaning, as a teacher, what do I need to do to the source to ensure that students have the best chance of understanding and comprehending the material that is found within? There will be a few modules just on this supporting question. Lastly, number 5, how do I use students' comprehension of primary and secondary sources to demonstrate mastery of the using evidence standards? Our module series has several modules within it, and I'll talk briefly about the title and give a short introduction to the content of each module. Module 1, Using Evidence of the CAS for Social Studies, is all about the requirements of the using evidence standards of the CAS for Social Studies. We're going to anchor our learning in the CAS for Social Studies. We're going to start there by understanding what we talked about before. What is a source? What are primary and secondary sources? And what are the skill demands of the using evidence standards per grade level that you work with? Module 2, Supporting Teachers when Selecting Sources, is all about supporting teachers when selecting sources to develop investigations. What are the questions that are going to drive teacher selection of those sources? And what are those considerations that teachers need to think about when they are selecting sources? Module 2 emphasizes that anything can be a source definition of source in Kentucky and supports students and teachers in creating a source set for investigation that uses a variety of source types, including but not limited to paintings and potteries, images, songs, photos, in addition to letters and diaries and other types of text-based sources to ensure that students have the opportunity to have a well-rounded understanding of whatever topic they're looking at. Module 3, Supporting Teachers when Engaging with Complex Sources, is all about supporting teachers when engaging with complex sources. How do you use the complexity information about a text to work with the source to make it something that you can use and implement in your classroom? Historical sources especially contain amazing pieces of information, but may need to be adapted or excerpted for use in the classroom. Module 3 gives you that foundational knowledge in order to evaluate a source so that you can make informed decisions when adapting or excerpting a source. Module 4, What should students do before engaging with the source? It's all about what students should do before engaging with the source, meaning what should students do before they sit down and read a text-based source. This module supports teachers on what they should do to prepare students to comprehend the source even before they start reading it. As a teacher, what should you do to prepare students to comprehend the source? So Module 4 gives you some strategies to support a student in understanding the source even before they do a deep dive into it. Module 5, What should students do while engaging with the source? It's about supporting students as they engage with the source, meaning how do you support a student as they are reading the source? What are some strategies that you can use to support a student's comprehension, in this case, of a text-based source? Module 6, What should students do after engaging with the source, is about developing coherent periods of learning that support students' mastery of the grade level using evidence standards of the CAS for Social Studies. After students read and engage with the source, students should regularly refer back to the sources to reflect on what they read and to engage in a more complex social studies skills. are so excited that you are starting this module series journey. If at any point in your learning you have questions, please contact us at kdesocialstudies@education.ky.gov. We are excited to see what you learn, and we welcome any feedback you have on this series. Thank you.